Podcast. Hello again, friends. Thanks for tuning in to Winfluence, the Influence Marketing Podcast. If you've been paying attention to the goings on in the influencer marketing world, you know by now there was a major acquisition announced recently. Sprout Social, long known as one of the top social media management solutions in the space, acquired Tagger Media. Its main product, Tagger, is one of the leading influencer marketing software solutions on the market. It was once a regular sponsor of this program as well. Tagger was actually also responsible for bringing me to the Influencer Marketing Show a couple of years ago. Pete Kennedy at CEO and I became friends with a shared vision and passion for the space. We had him on the show back in March of 2022. You can find that episode in our show notes at jasonfalls.com. I loved what Tagger's software could do. I used it exclusively for a couple of years. I still do use it for certain strategy and research projects, though CIPIO.ai and other tools are a part of my strategy and execution arsenal as well. When the announcement came down that Tagger had been acquired, it was a personal celebration of sorts. My friends there reached the end game of the original goal of the startup business. It was sold for a reported $140 million in cash. So I have a couple of contacts who are a considerable amount wealthier now. That's always a good thing to celebrate. But the news and the move also leave a lot of questions. So I reached out to Pete Kennedy and asked him to come answer them. We caught up last week and ironed out the what ifs and what nows of the big move, dug into the issues of the day in the influencer space, and I got Pete's take on how AI factors into the influence space moving forward. We'll dig into the news of the day and get one smart man's perspective on other things too. Pete Kennedy is coming up on Winfluence. As always, this episode of Winfluence is presented by CIPIO.ai. We are helping brands transform their digital marketing with user-generated content, videos, and images at scale. Why? I'll tell you why. Shopify data shows user-generated content quadruples your ad click-through rates. UGC drives as much as 7 times more engagement on social media. UGC improves website conversions by 29% and email click-through rates by as much as 73%. UGC is also more trusted by consumers than even traditional influencer content. And CIPIO.ai is also building the next generation of visual content management solutions. While we fully bake those, CIPIO.ai can right now plug you into your own community of users, find those who create great content, and help you engage them to do it for your brand. Your digital marketing performs better. You don't have to go looking for content to use for paid or owned campaigns, and we've got a team to manage it all for you if you need it. Come see us at CIPIO.ai if you want me to personally show you the platform and how we can solve your digital marketing performance problems with high-performing UGC. Just go to jasonfalls.co/CIPIO, fill out that form, and I'll personally set up time to chat with you. That's jasonfalls.co/CIPIO. And seriously, folks, we can make your marketing perform better and take a handful of content problems off your hands. jasonfalls.co/CIPIO. I personally will set up a meeting with you and walk you through the platform, tell you all about it. Be fun. Do that. jasonfalls.co/CIPIO. What does Sprout Social's acquisition of Tagger mean for customers, brands, creators, and the industry? Tagger CEO Pete Kennedy is next on Winfluence. Well, Pete, I guess obviously congratulations are in order. Being acquired is a big deal in the technology world and the startup world. So first, congratulations, but take us a little bit through the news and the nuance for those out there who don't know.
Yeah, very excited. So we were acquired by Sprout Social, which is, one of the biggest, social publishing, customer or employee advocacy listening platform on the market. And they have 30,000 customers around the world. And so it's a great opportunity for us to sell into that. And what's really interesting is that half of the RFPs that they receive now have influencer in there. And then pretty much all their customers are asking for influencer marketing. So it's been it's a great opportunity for them to be able to sell this to all their customers. But then I'm excited about how can we take our technology and their technology and create something really amazing for our customers and their customers. So big
Well,
opportunity.
and yeah, it's exciting for me too because I spent many years talking about the social media management, social listening space. I've obviously spent many years talking about the influencer marketing space, and so marrying those two technologies is super exciting. But I'm glad you kind of walked us through that how you did, because I don't think the marketing directors and the people out there who use these softwares fully understand the thinking that goes behind mergers and acquisitions in this space, because a lot of times companies will get gobbled up and then 6 months later they're gone. They've disappeared because it was more of a talent acquisition and it wasn't about letting that acquired company keep going. In your all's case, though, it really isn't that. It's we've got two powerful software packages and customer bases, and it's more about Sprout wanting to serve their current customers with better influencer technology, and you guys wanting to bring your influencer technology into a more robust system. Does that sound about right?
That's exactly right. There's customer needs on both sides. And then when we start to think about our platform, we have the brands and agencies that we service, but we also have the creators that we service. So how can we take some of the technology that Sprout has done so well over the years and include that into our creator portal? And so there's some really interesting synergies there. But we're also excited because, to your point, Jason, this is not like acquihire, let's go bring these people, take their technology and get rid of them. We're now, all of our development is done in Poland. We have a group of developers in Poland. We're actually building a hub now in Poland. So what this means for us and our customers is that we're going to be able to develop products faster, do more things, and really, for us, a lot of it has to do with how do we onboard customers in a better way. And I think that's what really Sprout is amazing at. They're the only platform in the publishing and listening that has free trials. And that was a huge part of their growth strategy. And so how can we take those learnings and apply that to Tagger so that, it doesn't take a whole lot of onboarding. People can just come on and try it. And if they like it, they sign on. So, but yeah, what it means for our customers is faster development. We're building a hub in Poland. And our development team can't be happier.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations again. I think this is big news for the industry and obviously for your customers and Sprout's customers. I'm excited to see what happens, and I'm also glad to report to people that technically I'm a customer of Tagger. I don't currently use Sprout Social, but I have in the past. Nothing has changed. I still log in and can do all my work. So they are continuing to serve the needs, and it's only going to get bigger and better. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, and just to
So
be clear, Jason, as well, real quickly, we are going to be two separate platforms. It's not, and if you're, a Sprout user, or if you're not a Sprout user, you're not going to lose anything by just having Tagger and not having Sprout. What we're looking to do, though, is how do we start to combine these a little bit so that if you are a joint user, man, you're going to be able to make your life a lot easier, especially since influencer is social media and you need these tools combined.
true. And I love what you said about, how can Sprout Social's tool be baked in better to your creator portal? Because basically what that says to me, for you creators out there watching, is at some point, if you're involved in the Tagger platform and you're plugged into the creator portal there, you may have a full suite of social media management tools at your fingertips now through Tagger. Does that sound right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so we're launching a new creator portal within the next quarter, where I met personally with 150 creators, just understanding what do they need, what are they looking for. And then the number one thing everyone said is, how do we monetize in a more efficient way? And so that's the tools that we're providing through Tagger. And then if you think about Sprout, what they do really well is publishing and content calendars. So how can we take that functionality and give that to creators to allow them to, run their business in a more efficient way?
Fantastic. Powerful combination of platforms there. Can't wait to see what happens. Okay. Now, one of the things that we talked about the last time you were on the show was your Signals product, which is more or less a social listening approach through influencers. And I love the way you guys approached that to kind of provide, social listening and social intelligence in a unique way, because TikTok and Meta specifically are notorious in my world for not allowing access to listening data. They don't give you very powerful tools to get in there and understand what people are saying. You guys kind of hack that a little bit with, well, we can look at the publicly available posts for influencers and we can analyze that data and say, hey, here's what people are saying about certain topics and whatnot. I'm curious if your approach to signals was a conversation point in the reasons why this acquisition happened, because I really think Tagger kind of approached that, getting in to listen to some of these hard to reach platforms in a very unique way.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at Sprout, they have an amazing listening platform. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Sprout Listening, and it's similar to us in the sense that you can start to understand strategies and how we always say over at Sprout, they always say, it's raining, but how do I figure out what clothes I need to wear, for the weather, as opposed to just saying, oh, it's raining. And so I think that they saw that, and they saw that within Tagger and said, "Oh, the synergies there are really interesting." Now, what we're doing though is we're focusing on creators, and these are people who move markets. They move culture, and so sometimes it doesn't really matter what Pete Kennedy has to say because no one follows me. But these people who actually do something in the world and can change markets, those are the people we want to listen to because it's going to help us drive our strategy. And for the platforms as well, they really look at this as we want to create better tools for our brands and agencies who are spending money on these platforms through paid media to get a better understanding of what content is going to drive the most engagement. Okay. And then that's going to lead to more paid media on Meta and TikTok and Twitter and all these different platforms because they're going to get better engagement with that content. And so ultimately what our goal is to drive more paid revenue to the platforms.
Sure.
And yeah.
Well, and that brings up an interesting point. I was actually having this conversation yesterday with a client of mine who is keenly interested in understanding what people are saying about not just her brand, but the industry topics or the related topics as a whole on TikTok. And she was literally complaining about the point I just kind of underlined, that TikTok is notorious for not giving API access to real listening data, understanding what's in the captions, what are in the posts. They do allow third parties to access and track hashtags, as I understand it, but not just random quotes and keyword phrases and things like that. And so I'm curious if, from what and I'm not assuming a whole lot more than I do, but I'm sure you do know a whole lot more than I do. But from what you know in the industry, why would a platform like TikTok or even Meta or any of the others, we can do this generically, why would they block brands and third-party access to information that's only going to enhance the money that brands want to spend there? Because if my client knew, hey, there's 150,000 conversations going on every week about this particular topic that she's interested in, she's going to put more paid media spend behind her content on that topic to fuel it. But she doesn't know that that's happening unless it's a specific hashtag. So I'm curious why they would block API access to that type of information for brands.
Well, I don't know what their thinking is in general, right? These are massive companies that have their own strategies that they're implementing. I know that for TikTok, for example, they have the TikTok Creator Marketplace, and that's what we're accessing, right? And so we're able to really understand what are those conversations, and it's helpful for our clients. The hashtag trending is kind of their version of that, right? So we can start to understand what is the volume of that content, who are the people that really matter within that space. But again, other platforms, I'm not really sure what their ultimate strategy is. Again, these are huge organizations, and you have people who just work on one specific button. So I don't know, but it is helpful. I mean, I think when you look at Sprout's listening platform, for example, it's very similar to us. Who are these people that are going to drive that conversation? And what is the volume of that conversation? And then especially for Sprout, you can start to look at, well, what is that content that works best? And then how can I use that on my own social channels? We take a slightly different approach. What is that content that works best within that space? And then how do I inspire other creators that I want to go hire to create content similar to that so that I can get the engagement I'm looking for the audience that I'm targeting?
Yeah. Good stuff. Want to shift conversations a little bit here and talk about shifts in the industry. I have been talking about this on the show, and we had some data a couple of weeks ago that we looked at that I feel like indicates that there's a couple of tea leaves turning over that indicates that brands are softening their demand, if you will, for traditional influencers and influencer marketing and shifting budgets and needs more to user generated content, which is slightly different, not the exact same thing, but also not inherently different. And I'm curious if you are seeing that, if anything is happening within the Tagger ecosystem that might indicate to you that brands are shifting attention or budgets to either more micro nano influencers, or they're shifting their intention to say, it's not about other people posting content about me. It's about me acquiring that content to use for my paid organic, et cetera. Are you seeing any of those tea leaves? Because we've been talking about it for a while now.
This is pretty much all I talk about now. So we looked at all of our users on our platform. And we looked at the titles of those users. And back in the day, Jason, it was like influencer marketing manager. It was just influencer teams. Now we have strategists, we have analytics, we have growth people, we have new business people. We have all these different departments that are utilizing our platform. And the reason why is all of this content that creators are creating, right? Whether those are macro or micro, it's getting better engagement than branded content. Okay. And so if you start to look at that customer journey, starting at, hey, I just found out about this product. Well, I might have found out about it from a creator. And then all the different platforms are just delivering me content about that through paid media. Well, that's influencers content. And then I go to the product page on their website, and guess what? It's influencer content. And then I put it in my email, or I put it in my cart and I abandon it. And I get a cart abandonment email. Guess what? That's influencer content. So if you look at that customer journey from awareness all the way to actual purchase, influencer content is touching you all the time. Why? Because they've A/B tested it and they've realized that it performs better than branded content does. Okay. And so the more we're educating our clients constantly, looking at all these different departments and how can we leverage this content in different parts of that customer journey. And what that ultimately does is it increases the ROI of that content's acquisition. And so, yes, you can go pay huge influencers for their reach and impressions. But, if you can work with a smaller influencer who creates amazing content at a very low cost, the ROI on that content is out of this world.
Absolutely.
So that trend is happening. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you validating that. And I'm not certainly indicating that influencer marketing is dead or dying, or that mega and mid-tier influencers aren't still a very viable avenue for many brands. I just start to see these indicators. And when 3 or 4 of them come along at the same time, I start to ask these questions because I'm like, okay, are things shifting? And I think they're shifting, not away necessarily, just shifting a little bit more one way or the other. The pendulum always swings and swings back.
And it swings with the tides of how consumers consume content and what content people care about. If you look at content 7 years ago on social media, it was this high polished, beautiful, like everything looks perfect. Now, if you look at it today, it's very real. It's every day. And so we as consumers have changed what we relate to. And, brands need to start changing the way that they deliver content that relates to the way that people, are in today's world. So.
Well, I'm taking advantage of the trend because for a clumsy, dumb, ugly guy like me, the trend is working out real well for this unpolished content. So I like that.
You're killing
we're talking to Pete Kennedy. He is the CEO, one of the co-founders of Tagger. They recently were acquired by Sprout Social. We've talked about that. When we come back on the show, we're going to talk about the topic everybody wants to talk about, AI, artificial intelligence and influencer marketing. Don't go away. Welcome back to Winfluence. Talking to Pete Kennedy from Tagger today, recently acquired by Sprout Social. Big news in the industry. And the other big thing that is beating the industry about the head and face, at least from a conversation standpoint, is artificial intelligence, AI. Pete, I know that you are excited about this. I know you've been thinking a lot about it. You guys have been doing a lot about it. Tell us how artificial intelligence is going to impact influencer marketing broadly, and then maybe drill it down to how it's going to come to life in Tagger.
Yeah. So artificial intelligence is amazing. And what's happening now, we're seeing this, the development of it is just so exponential. Like from what you can do 2 months ago to today is changing every single moment. What it's going to do for our clients is not replace them, right? What it does is it makes their life a lot easier. Okay. And so what AI does today really well is summarizes information.
Hmm.
What it doesn't do quite yet is say, okay, I have a $100,000 budget. How should I spend it? That it can't do that yet. It's getting there, but it's not there yet. And so where we look for synergies with AI is definitely within workflow efficiencies. How do we make running a campaign way easier through AI? And then how do we analyze data in a way that it makes it easier and allows me to create better strategy for my campaigns. So that's kind of how we're thinking about it. I can dive into some interesting use cases that we're working on, but like from a 10,000 foot view, that's really what AI does well.
Right. No, I
Yeah.
don't disagree with that at all. And I mean, even, the first thought that I had when I started to think about, okay, how does AI or how can AI impact influencer marketing software packages and how brands approach it? The first, I mean, the low hanging fruit is, well, AI can analyze a lot of data fast, so it can help me find better influencers faster, right? I
Mhm.
can get more to a better list of who I want to reach out to without having to do a whole lot of manual searching. But take us through a use case or two and tell us how much more deeply this is going to affect how we do our jobs.
Okay, well, let's talk about campaign management workflow. Um, First is I need to go reach out to a bunch of influencers and convince them that they want to work with my brand. I have to go send out messages. Now I can go send a message to one person, or I can send it out to 1,000 people, and it could be the same message. Or they could analyze this profile and start to craft a message for them that's going to relate to them based off of their tone of voice, what they talk about. And so just communication is going to be so simplified. And when you look at Sprout as well, they're doing a lot in terms of AI, in terms of how do you communicate with your consumers. So we're going to be having similar approaches there. The other interesting thing is let's just talk about discovery. Discovery is multiple inputs that you have to put into our platform or any platform. Well, it should just be a Google search where you just type in a few words and it finds the results instantly. Now, how do you do that? Well, if you look at, for example, if you're looking for someone who talks about soup, for example, right? Well, I have to put in soup and chicken noodle soup and all these different things. What AI allows you to do is build these models so that I can just type in soup and it will find any piece of content relating to that topic at all, right? Which is also very helpful for listening when you think about how do you build kind of listening, models, okay, social listening models. So those are two or three pretty simple examples. And then the other piece is it's so interesting. You've seen our listening or our Signals platform, which is our listening platform, and you have the ability to create graphs and line charts and all these different things. But you have to kind of build those graphs based off of pivot tables or the inputs that you want to put in there. So imagine, and I just saw the first rev of this about a week ago, which is cool. Imagine being able to go into an open template and say, I would like to see efficiency of spend by creator. And it automatically knows whether that's a chart, bar graph, a pie chart, and it automatically builds that. And then it summarizes it for you.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's what AI does really well, is summarizes information in a digestible form. So instead of having to use our templates, build anything you want, type it in, and AI knows the inputs that go into building our charts because we've already trained it, and it'll just build that for you automatically.
Man.
So talk
So,
about finding white space where it might be hard to find. You can really find. You can actually just say, "Show me the white space in this industry." It's interesting.
well, and what you just described to me, if anybody needs help translating that, what he just said was when you're doing reports that matter to your clients, to your bosses, etc., instead of spending hours in PowerPoint, you're going to spend a few minutes typing a few things into a software package and boom, your stuff is there, it's visualized, it's summarized, and it's simple. And if we could, I think everybody would agree, if we could cut our reporting time on campaigns in half, that would free up a lot of time. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
you're doing here.
Yeah, and then the other interesting thing is like, how do you take a lot of data and then find the interesting points there? So, for
Mhm.
example, let's say that you manufacture pickup trucks, and you can take
Okay.
influencers' content and listen to what people are talking about, right? Or you look at Sprout listing and you can look at all the people talking about pickup trucks. Well, what are they talking about? Well, they're talking about towing capabilities, interior design. They're talking about technology, all these different things. Well, what's being talked about most? What's most important? And then how do you stack up your brand being mentioned alongside those benefits compared to everyone else? So you might think that we have the greatest towing capability, but in fact, the way that people think about you through social is you have the worst towing capability. So maybe that's your strategy to talk about that. Okay. So that it's so funny when I talk to strategists when it comes to influencers, they tell me their strategy. I'm like, well, how did you come up with that? You know? And the answer is never, hey, we analyzed thousands of pieces of posts to determine what those strategies should be. It's, hey, this is kind of our strategy. And I think it works for this industry, this audience that we're going after. But now
they assumed.
We can tell you.
That's what
there's a lot of
assumption,
but that's what marketers do. We have to assume a lot.
That's true. So. That's true. Well, it's getting better and better to not assume as much and actually base those decisions on data, which is even smarter. Okay, let's go back a minute to the context of using AI to create communications, whether it be in your campaign workflow or whether it be, I know Sprout Social has some AI recommendations on, hey, here's a suggested copy for a social post. Those sorts of things are how a lot of these tools are implementing AI for generative AI purposes. Mm-hmm. How do we keep in the influencer space or overall using AI as marketers, how do we keep our craft from becoming commoditized and robotized with AI and keep that human element in there so that we're not just letting machines do it and setting it and forgetting it? Because that's the only concern I've ever had with generative AI is we can't get lazy. There still needs to be that human touch to make communications work well. How do we keep that craft from being commoditized?
Definitely. So AI is not a magic wand where you just say, hey, write me an email in the tone of Jason's voice. It doesn't work that way. You have to train it to Jason's voice, right? And so as you think about brands being able to communicate to creators, or even if you look at comment strategies, every time you run an influencer campaign, there's so many comments. Now it's like, do you have a comment strategy? Right? That's almost as important as the entire influencer campaign that you're running. Well, how do you create comments in the voice of your brand that's authentic, right? And that's where training the AI model really takes a long time. They have to see how do you speak. They have to take all your inputs. You have to constantly be changing that because your voice is changing over time as well. And that AI voice is not going to change unless you train the model. So you constantly have to put human input into these models in order for it to work efficiently. But ultimately, your goal is, I want to be more efficient in what I do. And if I can, do the work of 10 people by myself, I mean, who doesn't want to do that? And so human touch, listen, AI is human, right? You have to build the models yourself. And that's where I feel like the craft doesn't get lost.
Good. Well, I'm glad there's smart people like you in the positions you're in to kind of help protect that, because, dumb guys like me just sit around and talk about it, but you're actually doing something about it. Congratulations again, Pete, on the acquisition. Very excited about the future of both Tagger by Sprout Social and also Sprout Social, and seeing how those two combine. Real quickly, before we let you go, tell people where they can find you and those things on the interwebs.
Yeah, go to taggermedia.com. You can find us there, find everything you need to know about the platform. I'm on LinkedIn, Peter Kennedy. I don't even know what my handle is, but just search for me. And please reach out and connect with me. And any way that we can help you, would love to do it.
Well, we'll make sure that the links are easy to find, including the LinkedIn link there on the old show notes. Just go to jasonfalls.com, click on articles in the upper right-hand corner, and find Pete's handsome mug there. That'll give you the indicator that that's the post where all these links and things are. You can also do the little Instagram trick, which I'll tell you about here in just a moment. Pete, really appreciate your time. Congratulations again. Keep kicking ass, my friend.
Thank you, brother, and appreciate all the help and support over the years, man. You're the best.
Getting the CEO of a company just acquired for a big bag of money to come on a little old niche podcast like this is not commonplace. So thank you again to Peter Kennedy for his accessibility to us and continued support of Winfluence. Folks, I'm not lying when I say I love Tagger and what it does. It's technically a competitor to CIPIO.ai, but the softwares do different things in different ways and frankly are a great complement to one another in most situations. Check out Tagger, now Tagger by Sprout Social, at taggermedia.com. Find all the links you need at jasonfalls.com. Click on articles in the upper right. Look for this episode there, or find the Pete Kennedy episode post on my Instagram. I'm at Jason Falls there, and comment with hashtag Tagger. That will DM you the link you need, thanks to my pals at Stampede Social. If you enjoyed the episode, share it with someone else who may as well. And if you're enjoying Winfluence overall, help us grow and tell someone about the show. You probably know someone who might want to know more about influence marketing. Send them to winfluencepod.com or share a link to this episode on your social network of choice. If you have a moment, drop Winfluence a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. We are on them all. The show is now on video as well. Just look for Jason Falls Winfluence on YouTube to see the show as well as hear it. Winfluence is a production of Falls & Partners and presented by CIPIO.ai. The technical production is by MPN Studios. Winfluence airs along MPN, the Marketing Podcast Network. Thanks for listening, folks. Let's talk again soon on Winfluence.